if you had invested in just one simple thing 30 years ago, you'd probably be a millionaire today. The craziest part is it requires almost zero effort. It's called an index fund, and it's how normal people build real wealth. Okay, before we dive straight into the content of the video and index funds, I'd like to say welcome back to the channel for returning viewers. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate the support as a small creator. And if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Consider a like, comment, and a subscribe if you're interested in more wealth building content. Let's get into it. All right, so what most people think investing is, right? So when most people talk about investing or you hear it in the news or whatever, even on YouTube, they're thinking typically about picking stocks, right? So trying to find the next Apple or Tesla or Nvidia or Google or blah blah blah, right? And that's not necessarily what investing is or has to be, right? For some people, they enjoy picking standalone stocks and a little bit more risk and a little bit more of that gambling element, or maybe they have an idea about a trend or a certain way something's going to go. Here's the truth, though. Even professional investors, people who get paid a living, that's how they make their money, they struggle to consistently pick winning stocks. And I would argue that no one really can, right? Most of the time you're wrong when you're trying to pick the next Tesla, for example. So if the pros can't do it, what chance does the average person have? That's where index funds come in. Okay, so if you are a, I want to say long-time viewer of the channel, but it hasn't been around for very long. If you've watched my other videos, you've heard me ramble on and on and on about index funds, and you'll keep hearing me say that because of how good this is for the average person and for people who don't know a ton about investing and the market and how it works, right? Index funds have great mass appeal, and they have it for a reason. Everybody knows that it's extremely difficult to find that one in a million stock that we referenced earlier, like Tesla, Apple, Google, etc. Index funds remove the necessity of finding that next stock, right? Index funds track a group of companies instead of just one, right? So they're inherently diversified, meaning if one company in an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 goes bankrupt, no big deal because you're invested in hundreds of other companies automatically. So that's typically what you'll hear me talk about, an index fund that tracks the S&P 500. So that's kind of a big segment of the market, right? The S&P 500 is a stock indice, and it tracks 500 of, let's say, the biggest companies in the United States. So when you invest in an index fund, rather, you're not betting on one company to be profitable or else you lose all your money, right? You're betting on all of those companies. And that is the power of the index fund. The simplicity, the ease of use, that's why they're so valuable for a normal investor's portfolio. All right, I'm going to give you a quick, super simple analogy to really make it stick as far as index funds and how it works. Think about it like this. Picking individual stocks is like trying to pick the winning team in a league, any league. An index fund, that's like owning the whole entire league. So no matter who wins in the league, you win. Okay, let's do a quick recap of why this works so well for a regular person. Like we talked about before, you're diversified. If one company crashes, it barely affects you, right? Even if multiple crash. You capture the entire market's growth. So as the economy grows, right, as it typically does, the long-term trend is up for both the economy and the stock market. Your investment grows with it. Number three, it's low effort. It's much, much easier than trying to go deep in the weeds and analyze market trends and industry research and read all these investment reports. It's much easier. There's no guessing. There's no stress. It's set it and forget it, right? So while there's still risk involved, this is I would say personally, the lowest risk investment in the stock market in general. And then four, it actually beats most investors, right? Super important. Most people, and even professionals who get paid to do this, fail to beat the market in the long term. Index funds are the market. All right, let's go over a quick example with numbers as far as the math. And again, you've probably heard me speak about this in my other videos if you're a longtime viewer. Let's talk about historic returns. So historically, the stock market has returned about 7 to 10% per year on average, okay? That's the investment gain per year on average for your money. So let's say you invest, and again, this number may vary, just for quick math in this example, $300 a month, $400 a month. Okay, over time, over a long time horizon, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, that can grow into hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars mathematically by compounding returns. Not because you're some genius, but because you stayed consistent, you started early, and you continued to invest that money. But you might be thinking, wow, that sounds super easy and simple, rather. Simple and straightforward, not easy. How do most people go wrong? Right? Here's how people actually mess this up. They try to time the market, they panic, and they sell when things drop, when you hear bad news or your investments are down, right? They panic and they sell and they lose everything. Wrong idea. Or they chase trends and hype stocks and meme coins and all this stuff, and every time they do something like that and they participate in that, they lose. So who wins? How do people win in this situation? They keep it simple, they stay consistent, they let time do the heavy lifting. That's it. All right, as we start to bring this one to a close, I'm going to talk about how to start. Something actionable that you can do today. If you want to start, it's super simple. Open an investing account like a Roth IRA or a brokerage account with one of the major platforms. Pick a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Set up automatic investing, leave it alone. That's it. Super straightforward. You don't need to be smart to build wealth or a genius. You just need a system that's actionable, that works. And index funds are one of the simplest systems ever created. If you can invest consistently and give it time, you're not just investing, you're buying your future. So if this helped you to understand investing in index funds even a little bit better, please subscribe. I break this stuff down as simply as possible, and good luck.